Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Cybernetic being sent back from the future to kill and or save Sarah and or John Connor and or Danny Ramos. And those that don't tick any of the boxes above. Welcome to another Random Richie. So, it's no secret that I watch a ton of videos dealing with people behaving badly. Um, People just doing stupid shit in front of cops, doing stupid things in businesses, doing stupid things in court. A lot of it's sovereign citizens. Sometimes it's First Amendment auditors. Um, I was listening to a channel, and most of it is from the view of individuals who um, dislike people who engage in this kind of behavior, which I am among the same mindset. I think a lot of people that do that kind of stuff are purely idiotic. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. The almighty FAFO. Fuck around and find out. So, um, the individual I was listening to today, um, actually just a few moments ago, I actually stopped their video to go make this live and this random Richie, um, because it's so fresh and I need to get this out while my brain is actually braining on that subject because I'm ADD as squirrel. Sorry, there actually was a squirrel outside the window. Um, I actually got squirreled by a squirrel. Damn, that's kind of meta. Anyways, back to my rambling. Um, he was stating, hey, kids, you know, don't use these people as lessons. Don't pay attention to the stuff that they are spouting. And I have to disagree. Um, the reason I disagree is everyone should go out and watch what these idiots do. Um, and the reason for it is you'll get to see the fuck around and find out um, model completely intact from beginning to end, from someone fucking around to someone finding out in one fell swoop without having to do it yourself, getting your ass kicked, getting tased, getting, arrested, cited, fines, whatever stupidity you're going to spout off in a jail to get your ass kicked even further. Or if you end up getting convicted of something major and going to prison, getting your ass kicked there. You get to nip it in the bud so that you don't have to go on that long journey of, having to scam people for the rest of your life because you are unemployable because nobody wants to put up with your bullshit. Um, so, I am going to say, go out, watch videos on these First Amendment auditors, often called frauditors. I agree with the frauditor aspect. I do believe there is some level of we need to be on the watch to watch what's going on around us because there are bad apples in every walk of life. There's bad cops, there's bad lawyers, there's bad judges. I am going to say that they are very few in what I have witnessed. Now, again, that is anecdotal because it's only what I am privy to as far as all that information. Therefore, it might not be um, the same everywhere, and I don't think it is going to be the same everywhere. I think you're going to have certain locations where you're going to have a larger um, spread of that kind of behavior. Luckily, I've seen very little of it in my life and in the things that I have watched and I've looked at. I've seen definitely some crop up, but um, goes back to was it a line in Mark Miller's Watchmen? Who watches the Watchmen? And it might even go back even further than that. But we do need to be on the lookout. We do need to see if people are behaving good, bad, whatever. Um, you know, record police and government officials when you think something shady is going on. Um, don't shove your camera in their face. Give them the distance that they require. Because here's the thing. If they are a bad cop and you are up in their grill trying to record, you are more likely going to get your ass kicked. If they're a good cop, they're going to be like, hey, can you step back a little bit? Just give us space to do what we need to do. Especially in today's world, the past several years, you've had a lot of people just randomly pull weapons on police, not knowing whether that cop is a good cop or a bad cop, and start shooting because they feel the need to um, murder you know um, cops, and that's not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily bad. Well, okay, it is a bad thing, um, but it's my brain was going off in the wrong direction. Murder is bad. Never, never seek to kill somebody. Um, in fact, try to get out of everything with the least amount of violence as possible. You know, um, one of my good friends and my sword master, he teaches one very important martial art that anyone in the world is able to master in just one lesson. And the lesson is actually the name of the martial art. Run like bitch foo. If you're in an untenable situation and violence is about to erupt, GTFO, get the fuck out. Beat feet. You know, um, uh, I live by a philosophy in fighting. The only fair fight is one I survive. Meaning I am going to GTFO so I do not have to fight if at all possible. And if I do end up fighting, I am going to seek to end it the quickest way possible. Thankfully, I live in a state that has very lenient stand your ground rules. So I'm fine. If I go to a more strict state, I might be a little screwed, but I don't plan on starting any shit or finishing any shit if I don't have to. Um, that being said, man, woman, child. Um, good afternoon, Thesis. How's it going, brother? Um, man, woman, child, um, animal, sentient and sapient robot, whatever. I don't care who you are. If I do not see a way to get out of it without violence, I am going to end it to the most um, efficient way that I possibly can. And again, like I said, I believe the only fair fight is one where I live. So if I survive and I get out of it, anything else is fair game. But again, I live by a principle: don't strike anyone, man, woman, child, stronger, weaker, whatever, unless you have no other recourse. That does not get into the whole thing of provocative language. And by provocative, I mean, sent and meant to provoke, because a lot of states actually have that. They might have it listed instead of provocative language, fighting words. If you are being pushed to the point where someone is going to strike you, and it is obvious in your speech you're trying to push someone to that point, you getting your ass beat is not something that's going to get prosecuted. You might actually get prosecuted for trying to push someone to beat your ass. Um, that seems like I am far afield from where I started, but it's not really, because that's a lot of what a lot of sovereign citizens and First Amendment auditors do. They are trying to push buttons. They're trying to push people to a certain point. And again, it is that fuck around and find out without actually fucking around to find out. You can watch other people do it and get their asses handed to them and see, you know, this is really how the world works. If you are going to go and start doing the stupidity of sovereign citizens and First Amendment auditors and Moorish Americans, and individuals who are claiming Aboriginal rights but are not actual Aboriginals, um, like the Moorish um, uh, sovereign citizens. Um, and again, there's the difference between people who are actually of Moroccan descent, those kind of Moors, and Moorish sovereign citizens, sometimes called Moorish state nationals. I also hear American state nationals try pushing a lot of bullshit and stuff like that. Um, learn the actual Constitution, not just the tidbits that your guru is handing you. Um, the 14th Amendment, where it talks about travel, does not talk specifically about specific modes of travel. It just says you can't be stopped from traveling. Doesn't say that they can't stop you from riding somebody else's horse or driving a car without a license or driving a car in conditions that are unsafe for other motorists on the road, or from flying a plane without proper licensure and stuff like that as well. So um, actually learn the actual amendments, learn, everything about the 10th Amendment, which grants the states the rights to create laws that aren't covered in the federal Constitution. And then, read your state constitutions, if you're going to go off of constitutional laws. And then, realize that because of all that stuff involved there, that, um, general statutes and legislature are still laws, codes, statutes, legislation. These are laws. These are things that we have to pay attention to. Now, if you do not think that a statute or a law is appropriate or correct, you know what you do. You go to fight to get that law, that statute, that code, whatever, um, changed. So, yeah, thesis says you're assuming that these people can actually read and understand what they are reading. They do understand what they are reading. The only thing is they are not reading the source material and talking to individuals with understanding of how everything works. They are just going off of what their gurus say, and I feel for these folks on one level because a lot of times things like this are born of desperation. They've lost their job, they've lost their license, they've had some type of hardship, and they find out about this miracle cure, which is going to get them to not have to do what this other thing says. It's a get out of jail free card. It's a payday, and they're really struggling and they're really desperate, and a lot of times these are the people who are falling for this stuff. The people who are really desperate. Um, the world has failed them on some level, and they need to find a way to change that. And they're grasping at straws, and they're not looking deep enough into a subject. They're taking it at face value. They're just looking at the surface, and they're going, yeah, this is what's going to save me. This is right, because it uses um, bits and pieces of neurolinguistic programming, dark psychology, and occult mindset for creating a cult and getting others to follow you. And a lot of that is what's being broadcast there. And people who are desperate stop looking at anything beyond this is going to save me. So that's one major thing to keep in mind. But yeah, I watch a lot of this stuff, and some of it you see they're real bastards who are just trying to pull one over on the world and basically not have to be accountable for anything. And I really want to see these people have their asses handed to them, and I enjoy. I shouldn't enjoy another's misfortune, but I'm not going to lie, I'm human. In this case, I enjoy watching sovereign citizens and frauditors and abusers get what's coming to them. And that's a lot of the mentality that is involved in those communities. Now, frauditors, First Amendment auditors, these are people who are going into public spaces and they're filming everybody, and they're looking for that one person who's uncomfortable being on camera, and they are going to press in on them. And one day, I really see myself being on camera somewhere, getting arrested alongside a First Amendment auditor because they chose to start filming Misty, making Misty uncomfortable, and therefore, because you're making the person I love most in this world uncomfortable, I am going to beat you to death with your own law. Um, and enjoy it. So Thesis says, assholes like Pastor Steven Anderson, guy's a douche and pull sovereign citizen stuff, and it's fun to watch him get slapped down. I would very much enjoy watching that happen. So is there a channel or creators out there that you know of that have a bunch of videos of this guy getting beaten down? In fact, Thesis, you've got access backstage. You are welcome to come on in, and we are welcome to have a conversation on this if you want. You, Joe, Trey, Don, Nick, you're all welcome to stumble into any of my random Richies and have a conversation. It's much better than me just rambling and ranting what have you. But again, that being said, these First Amendment authors like to press in on that one person that they find to be a weak member of the pack and try to push on them and try to get them to swing and stuff like that. So that's also where, again, provocative behavior would end up probably getting me off here in Indiana because it's in defense of myself or another individual. But yeah, I've got no problem swallowing the soul of douches like that. But First Amendment auditors often will target post offices and libraries and stuff like that. And the only thing is, um, they're going to be like, well, you're not allowed, any privacy in public. Well, a library is a limited public forum, so you actually have to check with the library to see if you're actually allowed to film in there, what you're allowed to film, and where you're allowed to film it. Because again, it is a limited public forum. It is not, it's not a town meeting or something like that where anyone can go. Anyone should have the right to film, because again, it is, a public town meeting, stuff like that. Now, there are some towns that, due to some fraudulent behavior, have locked it down, been like, if you are not a member, someone living in this town or a caregiver for someone in this town, you're not allowed to the town hall meetings, because, again, people are just creating just issues and havoc and BS like that. But post office, they'll be like, well, poster 7. Well, they read poster 7, and yeah, for news purposes, you can record in those locations. Thing is, you actually have to be actual media, not just someone on YouTube trying to evoke reactions. You're not allowed anywhere to record, anywhere where you are able to record someone's personal information. So if you're at the DMV, you're not allowed to be close enough to hear driver's license information, social security numbers, credit card numbers. You're not able and allowed to record that information for another individual without their consent. Because again, that can lead to identity theft and stupid things of that nature. You're not allowed to be recording in a doctor's office or a human service, health and human services office, stuff like that, where again, you're close enough to hear what's going on. You're not allowed to be recording stuff where you've got minors and their information and any care attributed to them. To my knowledge, a lot of places you're not allowed to be recording anywhere where you might be recording a victim of domestic violence going in for any kind of counseling or any kind of help against their abusers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of limitations out there, and a lot of times they'll be like, well, this is a government building, so it's public property. No, the government rents that from somebody, so it is somebody's private property that is housing a public service, but that does not mean you have unfettered access to that, nor does it mean you've got unfettered access to everywhere within it. Another thing that pisses me off beyond all belief is when these dumb fucks are looking at cops, they're looking at the security guards, they're looking at the government employees like, well, you're my servant, you're my employee, I pay you. No, you pay the state or the federal government, and the federal government or the state pays their employee. I go to Burger King and I buy a Whopper. That cashier, that manager, the guy on fries, girl, other on fries, person on fries, um, they're not my employee because I paid for something. You pay for those services. Just because you pay for those services does not mean that that person is your employee. That person is your employee if you've contracted them directly to do those services for you. If I go to the Social Security office in a few years here to go ahead and get the ball rolling for everything that I'm going to need to do for retirement and stuff like that, that worker at the office is not my employee. That worker at the office is helping me get everything set up to be able to properly use that service. And it irritates me to no end, the people that are like, well, that's my cop car because I pay taxes. One, if you're doing the frauditing gig, I'm thinking you're not paying taxes. Um, I think you're abusing the system more than paying into the system to begin with. But again, no, it's not. Um, Emergency vehicles, public service places, the DMV, City Hall, um, the state legislature. These people are not my employees. Now, in the case of the state legislature and um, elected officials, um, we do have the power to fire them by making sure that if they are doing a piss poor job, the next time their position comes up on the the ballot for elections, that we get someone in place that can do the job better than them on that ballot and get that other person voted in rather than just um, keeping the same people in time after time after time after time. If shit's running smooth, yeah, sure. Keep the same mayor, keep the same, city council, whatever. If shit's shady, start voting people out. Pay attention, look into people. Again, this is where I said, you know, there are times and places for recording our officials doing shit, paying attention to what's going on, getting deeper involved. But the truth is, too few people out there in the world want to do that. They want to go the path of what is easiest. So they they start a fight. They do something physical. They sit there and all they do is bitch and moan and mudsling. Oh, so and so is such a bad person. They blah 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 blah. All right, what are you doing to combat that? Um, Recognizing the issue is good, but if you don't do anything to fight against the issue, what good are you doing? Um, there's a right way to fight. There's a right way to get things changed. Are there a lot of laws out there that are stupid and fucked up and backwards and they're still on the books for some stupid god awful reason? Yes. You work to get the laws changed. You don't just flaunt the law. Or flout. Flaunt? Flout? Flout. Flout. You don't flout the law. Um, Flaunting the law would be like, see, here's the law. But anyways, sorry, that's beside the point. Um, uh, the world around us is changing at horrifically fast speeds, and it's just getting faster, and it's just going to continue to get faster for the rest of my existence and beyond. Nothing beyond some type of extinction event where all the brightest and best minds who know how shit runs and how to rebuild things, if they're all killed off, then maybe things will start slowing down and and stuff like that. And no, I'm not calling that as a call to arms to destroy individuals like that. I'm saying, yeah, that's the only way I see the world not continuing to get faster and faster and faster as we go on. Um, but yeah, and unless some type of weird extinction event like that happens where the best and brightest minds are just completely taken out and all you're left with are the dumbass TikTokers who just know how to get into an app. And I'm not saying all TikTokers are dumbasses. I'm saying of TikTokers, if the only people that are left are the dumbass ones. Um, but yeah, if just the stupid people are left who just know how to hit a couple of things in an app and then everything happens that they need to make happen. You know, if those are the only people that are left, the species is going to die off. You know, human are going to be gone. Um, because they don't know how to go and fix things. They don't know how to go generate the electricity that's needed to be able to run all the servers and where all the servers are and how to fix stuff. You know, they just care about their 5 minutes of fame, their 15 minutes of fame, stuff like that. So, um, I'm starting to get rambly, but back to my original statements here is um, paying attention to people who behave badly is good on two levels. One, you're on the watch out. You're able to see this stuff happening. You're able to avoid it. You're able to steer the people that you care about away from it. Wow, I've been talking for 30 minutes. I didn't realize that. Um, but you know, you're able to have that situational awareness to be able to go, you know, I smell dumb fuckery in the air. It is time to know about here. And two, if you watch it, you see really what does happen when you show your ass, as my mom would say. Mom used to use the term, if you're behaving badly, you're showing your ass. But anyways, and apparently my father and I put the ass in ass one. Actually, it's ass one. I'm sorry, I'm going to get off um, my soapbox on that. But anyways, you get to see what happens when people pull out the dumb shit and they act badly and they behave poorly and just allow wrong thinking, bad thinking, and ill intent to be their their motivator, their um, um, aphasia. It's a thing. Their modus operandi, their MO, their standard operating procedure. You get to see people fucking around and finding out, and you get to watch what happens when one fucks around, and you get to find out without having that firsthand um, being put in cuffs, being put in to a squad car, being arrested, getting tased, getting pepper sprayed, um, any of the bad shit that can happen to you in jail, especially if you show your ass to the wrong people when you're in a holding pen with someone who is a better badass than you. Um, you can learn all those lessons without having to do the deed, um, and without having to face the final fallout and consequences of the consequences. Um, uh, you get tased, you're going to go to the hospital, they're going to pull EMTs probably pull the probes out. They'll check you out. You might go to the hospital. After the hospital, you go to jail. After the jail, then you've got to go through the embarrassment of calling someone to pick your ass up. Um, maybe bail yourself out, stuff like that. So, um, it's there. The immortal words of my father, Richard Asplund Sr. Love breeds love and hate breeds hate. The more hate you put out into this world, the more hate you're going to receive in return. The more buttons that you push, the more concerns for officer safety or public safety that you show, the more serious the consequences that are going to be heaped upon you. If you're doing something stupid like loitering in a Walmart parking lot, and then keep bringing your hand out of view when the cop comes to find out who you need assistance. And the cop isn't even being an asshole about it. They're just like, hey, you've been here a while. Are you okay? Is there something that can happen? And the reason why we know this is because body cams are a beautiful thing. And also, the dumb fuck is recording himself being an asshole. So you get to see it from multiple viewpoints. And then when other officers come in, you get to see multiple cams and you get to see the glory of someone really showing their ass and getting it handed to him. But anyways, kept putting his hand, where the cop couldn't see it. The cop doesn't know what's in the car for officer safety. He's trying to get the person out. For those who don't know, Pennsylvania versus Mims, I believe, is the case that allows a police officer to be able to order any person out of the vehicle to be able to control the scene and for scene safety. So, if you're pulled over and Pennsylvania versus Mims might be cops able to identify anybody in the car, or it might be both of them. I don't know. I got to double check that one and relook that one back up. I know in a case like that, Pennsylvania versus Mims is usually stated, but a lot of times it's because they asked for identification for other individuals inside the vehicle, and then people start showing their asses. So so the officer, usually a male, every once in a while it's a female officer, ends up ordering everybody out of the car, and then people start showing their asses. And I know Pennsylvania versus Mims is quoted in there somewhere. I don't remember which portion it's attributed to off the top of my head, and I am too lazy to browse for it in this exact moment. But anyways, I've gone very far afield, while staying in the same field because it's a very broad field. But again, it's you gotta not be a shithead. Yeah, there's bad cops out there, but not every cop you encounter is going to be bad. Excuse me. That being said, my brain cells have one or two far afield of each other. A lot of fields today. So they're not talking as much as they should. So therefore, I'm starting to space out and stare into left field. So I just have this to say in the end is, once again, the immortal words of my father, Richard Asplund Sr. Love breeds love, hate breeds hate. The immortal words of um, Edna Elliott, my late grandmother. Um, the best gift you can give another person in this world is a laugh or a smile. It is never the wrong size. It is never the wrong color. It is never the wrong style. For one brief moment, you have brightened somebody's life and reminded them that there is something greater out there for them. And sometimes that can breed hope. And hope is the best thing that we can strive for in our lives, because hope is what is going to bring us to be a better person. Pardon me. To be a better person and do better in this world. And before I go into another coughing fit, I will say, um, I hope that your day is filled with awesomeness and loved ones, and that your life and those that you care about's lives are filled with light, laughter, hope, and happiness, and love. Light, love, laughter, hope, and happiness. Um, Brain is stopping to brain, so I don't know if I said the same thing 2 different ways just now. So it's time to call it. Love you all. Have a great one. Be safe. Be good to one another.